All right. Well, welcome to the second part of the Grail series. This is our little group, which we're going to be doing some discussions on that particular Grail 2 video. And so we are now open for those discussions. I invite anyone with questions, comments, or additional, information of anything they'd like to add. If there isn't anything, then we'll just conclude. But I certainly would love to hear from all of you. Yes, Drew, you have a question. You can speak, dear.
I was wondering about, could you explain or talk a little bit more about the Luciferian dynamic within the Sirius system, if you can? I'm interested in that.
Yes, well, the whole Luciferian dynamic is not, in a universal sense, relative to our earthen hologram of the universe is, okay, let's start back with the twin flames that Thoth calls them of the two archangels. One incarnated came in as a Christic being into the body of Yeshua at the time of baptism to share that experience with the soul of Yeshua. And the other is the Luciferian, who has not actually been incarnated on this earth, as far as I know, as far as anything that Thoth has told me, although he definitely operates in a mechanistic way through certain what they call anti-Christic forms like Hitler and whatever, but only when that particular being's soul has been completely just vanquished in the body, and the body's taken over by not Lucifer itself, but by the satanic energies, which are another type of mechanism formed when there's a vacancy of light present in a physical body, not in a soul, because there's never a soul that doesn't have light in it. So this is a whole dynamic I won't go into here, but anyway, so we start with the twin flames, and Lucifer is an archangel, okay? But when certain things took place, as I understand it, and on a universal spectrum for us, there was a divisive nature that came up simply out of the energy, the desire to create. And you might almost call it like if you poured oil in a pan and you heated that oil to the extreme, and then you poured some extra oil in, what would happen? It would start popping like crazy because it would be at a different temperature than the oil that had been slowly heated up to that point. This is what Thoth is showing me right now to try to give you an idea. So in the universal swirl of things, there was extra oil poured into the pot at a different time frame. I don't know if time is the right word, but a different point in all of this. And when that happened, there was a surge. And we're speaking of our hologram that eventually created the earth as we know it, the souls that developed that, which are all of us and more. And so when that occurred, because the two archangels that were holding the presence for this whole field to manifest, one of them had to take on the popping. One of them had to take on the surge. And what we're calling the Luciferian one had to take on the surge. If it did not, the whole thing would be destroyed. This is a very feeble explanation, I will admit, because it's beyond our comprehension, basically. But to some extent, we can get a little bit of a picture of it, and this is the picture that I'm giving anyway, with Thoth's help. So, as this occurs, then Lucifer becomes the one that takes this on. He's really saving the whole continuum, but he has to play out that focus until the insurgency is released. In other words, the mass beingness that we all are turns loose of, translates, transforms, whatever word you want to use. This, Thoth is giving me the word insurgency that occurred in the original creational form of our holographic experience that Lucifer took on. He can't transform it. We must. And when that occurs, Lucifer becomes equal to the Christic archangel again. Perhaps they merge as one. I don't know what happens then, honestly. But so Lucifer is not a bad guy. However, now let's get more into the point, because you're talking about Sirius and all of this. But I had to state that first, because you got to understand first where Thoth is coming from in regard to Lucifer itself and that whole dynamic. So now we have the point in Sirius that had to be moved, and we just read about what that was about and moved into this other point. So the Luciferian energies that are still holding that insurgency are now working with a handicap, because they are not at the true point of receipt of the divine synchronization. And as such, the Luciferian energies are, collecting the karma, but they're trapping it there. And this is good news and this is bad news. It's good news because if it was not held, a greater portion of it sopped up like a sponge and kept there, again, we would just have destroyed everything. I mean, we would no longer be as a world continuum. So it's a sopping up point, but it's also trapping it. Excuse me, I'm just going to turn the mic off for just a moment. I turned the video off and not the mic. There's too many things here, so sorry to break your eardrums. In any case, let me get back to my point here. So we have trapped energies because we are the ones that must transform them. So that's what we're doing now. That's what we're working with. We're working to transform the whole ball of wax. And you think, well, how can we do that? How can we possibly do that? Well, we're going to be receiving a lot of help. But that help is only help. It only comes in when we open the door. But when we do open the door in deeper and deeper levels, and more of us do that, then the help comes in. And the help is really fantastic help. You know what I mean? These beings and sources know how to do a great cleanup job. But we have to be the ones that open the door, enough so for them to come in and do their work. So Sirius is acting as that portal, that point. But remember, that's just with the Luciferian side of it. We also have the light side held on the other side. And what's going to happen, as soon as we start really working with the Luciferian energies, all of that light is going to start pouring into the other side. And that's another part of that tremendous cleanup effort. It's just going to come pouring in. So we have these two factions involved there. Did that anywhere near approximate an answer for you, Drew?
Yes, it did. And I want to ask one more question. I think somebody else had a statement. So okay. There are codes then. Are there codes trapped in Sirius? Are there some kind of light codes or something from Lucifer? You said something about, because it was expelled, so the energy was expelled. Are there codes in there? Are there light codes? I guess that's what I'm trying to find out. Just what does it carry besides trapped energy?
Oh, I see. Yes. I got it now, what you said, yes. Okay, yes, well, you see, the series has, okay, let me going back to my material to try to find where he said that. There's several factors in Sirius, and one is where the trapped energies lie, but the other is the light field, and the light field is in Sirius. So we have two different programs in there, yin and yang, so to speak. One is sopping up the karma, and thereby becoming, sort of a ball of karma, and the other is the light field. So you have two in there. And if you're working with Sirian energies, you're in a really strong position to, if your soul is, your creation star is Sirius, whatever, you're really in a strong position to help bring the light, the Sirian light, into the Sirian dark, so to speak,
Okay, that makes sense. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Yeah, that answered the question.
Someone else had a question? I'm sorry, I
Yeah,
couldn't
I
see
had
it.
something. Maya, I have something to say.
Okay.
You realize that you just described, the whole thing that you just described was duality. That's how it all began, and it's all an illusion, as you started to say when you were talking about Lucifer. He is, but he isn't. So it's the same thing with duality. Those two represent the duality.
Yes.
And everything that's happening within it.
Mm-hmm.
And so so then you brought it around to how we come back to unity. This is what we're working on now, is our unity.
Yes, I absolutely agree with that, Maka. And but also I have to add the little caveat, and that's the correct word, and that is that Thoth has stated we are beings that are intended to be dualistic at this time until we master dualism. In other words, it's way out of balance. Way out of balance. Duality has a purpose up to a point before it's no longer needed, you know? But we are so far backward in it that we need to master duality before we can turn it loose. And that mastery will continue in at least the first phases of the new Earth star. But however, in the first phases of the new Earth star, we will actually have mastered it to a huge degree. And then we play it out. We play out this beautifully balanced duality that we would hardly even recognize it. You know, we're so far behind what Thoth considers balanced duality that you would hardly even recognize it as duality, but from the Thothic perspective, it still is. And then we play that out before we can accept, you know, the beyond of unity. But we're on the path, and even in this world now, as we're living it, we can make a huge difference in cleaning up our duality spectrum so that it really, really becomes more succinct and more serving the unity. Because everything that is not quite where it, you know, is not the one, in its balanced state, serves the one, and serves to get us to that one. But when it's imbalanced, it doesn't do that at all. It just brings us back down and flops us down on the ground again. So, you know, this is the whole thing that we're involved in right now, and it's pretty dramatic. But thank you for pointing that out, Marco.
So from my perspective, to me it seems that if we could always see it, perceive it as being in unity. True, we aren't there yet, but if we can hold that concept and hold that image and I can't think of the words, but if we can hold that itself will help to bring it about. Yes,
absolutely. Absolutely. And there's, you know, unity, if we use the term unity to apply to our understanding of it, you know, we can achieve great things to that end. I'm speaking about Thoth's version of unity, which is so beyond our conceptualization that, you know, we can't even imagine it. So to him, a very balanced duality would be unity to us, you know. That's, again, we're looking at different perspectives of the same principle. All right. Is there anyone else that has any? Yes, Cadron, certainly.
Yeah. What I wanted to say, because you spoke about the blood of Christ, and what I wanted to say is that it has been revealed that if you go right back to the Last Supper, there were no priests involved. And the priests have to a large extent kind of co-opted the Last Supper or the Last Supper activities, if you like, into the church service and into what they call communion and so on and so on. But in fact, you weaken the whole Last Supper procedure if you go and do it in a church and have a priest sees the role of giving you the blood and giving you the body of Christ. It's a much simpler prayer, and you can do it yourself. just take a little glass of water, a little piece of biscuit or something, and make your prayer, Christ, with your eyes shut, I suggest, Christ, please transform this water into the blood of Christ. Please transform this piece of biscuit into the body of Christ. And then you drink the water and you eat the biscuit. And that will raise your vibration. And really this whole battle at the end of the old world, if you like, is a battle of vibration. We all need to have the highest possible vibration we can possibly have. And drinking the blood of Christ, eating the body of Christ will raise your vibration. But you have, of course, to pray to Christ to transform it. But he will. That's what I wanted to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Cadron. Well, I agree that any ceremony that you initiate of your own, in your own being, whether it even has an outward experience or not, although outward experiences are very helpful for that, I totally agree that is, the deepest initiation ceremony, whatever you can give. Of course, but there is also, on the other side of the coin, when two or more gather together. So if you're doing it with many people who all have a similar desire and feeling, that amplifies it. That's another way. Both of them serve unique aspects of the same purpose. But I also agree with Cadron when he says, it's largely diluted in the formal way the churches, the Christian churches, the Catholic, I guess you would say, do that service now. But that's not to say that some of the individuals that are going up there and receiving it are not conducting their own inner initiation through it when they don't have to be, New Agey or anything. They don't have to be metaphysical. They don't have to be any of that. But if they're in their heart center really, really, really strong, then it's going to happen anyway, If they're not and they're saying, well, got to go to church, yes, got to, praise Jesus, let's get out there, let's get that blood of Christ, If they're doing it like that, of course, it's not going to be very helpful. So, it all depends on the individual involved. I will add, just as a brief aside, that when my former husband Simeon and I am technically still a priest in the Church of Antioch, which is a Catholic church, but it is not a Roman Catholic church. It has a true, what do they call it, apostolic succession from, I think it's Paul, but no, it's from, it's been so many years since I took their courses, I can't even remember now. But anyway, whatever it is a real church. But in this particular Catholic church, you can do chakra initiations, you can do whatever. The only criteria truly is that you truly, believe and place the Christ energies in it in some way. It can be universal, it can be whatever, it can be some way. So Simeon and I decided that we wanted to take it into the priesthood, and that was no small thing. It's not like you just ride off and get a certificate. This was a 4-year study, and we went all the way to the priesthood, and we were given, we went to the church and received the rites, and lay down on the floor, and the whole thing, and then we had a little chapel in which we gave sacred ceremonies of many different types, but one of them was a standard, more or less, Catholic ceremony of communion. And of course we had, in our little chapel, we had Mother Mary and we had Buddha. We had a few other statues around, which was okay with them, it was okay with the church. So, but anyway, we did do these ceremonies, and they were very, very powerful, even though they were following, more or less specifically criterion of the Catholic Church as regard to the ceremony of communion. But we were putting a lot more into it, and the people that were present were putting a lot more into it. And we actually could have changed the ceremonies even more if we chose, but we wanted to experience, what we wanted to do with all of that, we felt guided to do, was to help transform it to the stage it was intended to be, to the state it was intended to be, in our own humble way, And that's what we felt guided to do. And so we did that. And for several years, we did that. And then we said, okay, we don't really want to do this kind of ceremony and everything anymore. Not because we were turned off by it, but, we've done it. We're moving on. Now, Simeon is not even any longer an active priest. I am. and but I don't do those ceremonies or anything like that anymore. But it was a beautiful experience, very powerful, and we truly, truly felt we were injecting a transformational energy into the Akasha for that whole experience. I'm sure many others were as well, but that was our particular experience of it. So I just wish to share that. And I don't think we're off topic because this is about the Grail, and the Grail is about communion. So, and thank you, Kadrin, for opening that up and sharing what you did, which was very important and very true as far as I'm concerned, and for allowing me to take it a little further with my own personal experience. So does anyone else have anything they'd like to share or questions they'd like to ask? Okay, Maya. Can you?
Yeah, I just what you spoke about in the beginning about the I can't get specific. I'm a little tired today, but I remember you talking about the incoming energies and it's hard. What you spoke about earlier reminded me of what this person codenamed Cobra spoke about the event, the compression event, and others are speaking about such a thing.
I haven't heard of that.
Yeah. I know you're on Facebook, and he has he does have a thing on there, but they're supposed to be pretty damn soon. Excuse me, and so that's supposed to come to pass hopefully this year. But it's because he's speaking about the same thing you're talking about.
Huh. Well, I'll have to go back to my Facebook page and find that.
Well, I can send you information too.
Okay.
I can post it.
Thank you.
That's it.
Okay. Does anyone else have anything? I know we're coming up a little past the hour, but just any final thing? And they're starting to mow outside, so I think our time has come here. Oh my goodness, what a sound.
Thank you, Maya. This has been excellent.
You're most
Excellent.
welcome. I'm going to turn off the video now because that noise is coming in.